you have on the agenda
Sure.
that's pressing,
The,
that need to go to recommendation to full council.
yeah, I do have a few things for sure. Sherry, you're welcome to stay if you want. If you have anything for the counselors to hear from the library, we're not gonna go through the, everything that was on there, so you're welcome to leave. Want to.
And if you have a report already in hard copy, we can go over that.
Yeah, her report is in the agenda. Yeah. All right, let's start with you then.
The first.
This awesome Sherry.
Good evening. I think you can see by the report there that we have started the library card sign up month for September for the library. And then we also have all our activities that are going on right now. We had a movie today. Our statistics from last year and this year, as you can see the comparison and stuff, it changes a lot. Last year we made a little bit more in our revenue compared to this year. So it just kind of varies from year to year and month to month of what we're making for the library. But all in all, we're just moving along and doing a lot of different programs and stuff for the kids. So it's been busy. It was a busy summer and we're just kind of slowing down now. I have a children's programmer position open right now. So I'm looking to replace that.
It's interesting that you brought that up because I was just wondering where you are with your staffing.
I'm down to myself plus 2 others right now.
And so to be at full capacity, what does that look like?
It will probably need just to have one more my children's programmer come back on. We just need to fill that position. And we had a part-time position, but that one was through a grant. Mhm.
Thank you, Sherry.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you for your.
You're welcome. Anytime. Thank you.
And we just posted that position in the last 2 weeks. I think that one did get posted for applicants as soon as possible. Yeah.
It seems to be picking up the application process. I usually, I post for a couple of years ago. I got 7 this last time. Wow.
Yeah. That's promising.
Yeah.
All right, next item on the agenda, the NEMRAC contract is up for renewal. And I believe it's in the packets. Starting on page. Oh, page 15. Is where that starts, and we don't have to go through all of this, and I see one thing that needs to be changed, and that's on the title of it. So this isn't a lease agreement, it's actually a service agreement that we have for them. But we kind of went through the old one and really made quite a few edits because there were some things that were referenced that were no longer attached to the contracts, and a few things that just weren't happening. So Gabrielle and myself kind of went through this each, and she presented to her board, and this is kind of the final one that we came up with. We do want to present this to the council for the September 26th meeting.
Can you elaborate on the changes that you?
The main one is the amount that we're paying them, and that was approved in the budgets, we did the budget hearing, so that's bumping up from 60,000 a year to 72,000 a year, so a difference of 1,000 per month for them, and that's mostly to cover staffing costs. Because the amount she's being paid really hasn't gone up in the last 6 years, 6 or 7 years, possibly longer than that, though the cost of staffing has. So that's the main difference. There was a little bit more clarification in the scope of services. So on section 3 right there, gives a little bit more detail about exactly what they're doing, where they're doing it, as far as the different locations. So she's got the art gallery, visitor center, and then an office there, and then the arts center across the street. So I'm just kind of gives a little bit more detail on that. So if auditors go through, they'll see that everything that we're doing is referenced. Everything referenced has, back in the documents to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. And I think that was really the only major changes. I changed a little bit of wording here and there, just kind of as I went through the document, just to make it more clear. Edit things that weren't happening. For this to go to council on the 26th, and I think we've got a couple of days. We can put a space holder in it tomorrow. If you want to take a look at it and see if you have any other suggestions or see any major changes that need to be made before we put it on the agenda packet.
Actually good if your report and the changes have been made to move it to full council and that new council.
Did Gabriela, did she move to the bond house?
Say that again.
Did she relocate to the bond house?
No, her office is right next to the restrooms.
Okay, it's
At
still.
the Convento. She uses the bond house for a little bit of programming, and she's got an art installation that's going up in there. I think at the end of this month, they were repainting 2 of the rooms in there.
And I think you were just in the alarms also.
Yeah. Yes, it works. It doesn't currently alert anybody. So we had 3 different contracts with the alarm company. So to change the alarms on there, they need to bring in some new equipment on that. The internet's really good, so it should be fine. We just need to choose company. The alarm in the mission does activate and does now call me if somebody either sets it off for whatever reason. Yeah. But right now the bond house is alarmed, so if anybody goes in there, it's an interior motion sensor. So when anybody goes in and the alarm's set, then it'll make a lot of noise inside, but it doesn't contact anybody. So that's definitely one thing we need to address, because there's precious things in there.
Yes.
So since we're talking about the regional arts center, how are they doing as far as their roof and these days of rain?
I haven't checked in the last few days. I'll do that. Usually Gabriella calls me if there's an issue, and she's usually over there every day that she's in. Broken windows have happened, about once a month. So just smashes one. She gives me a call, gives Jeff a call right away.
Okay.
But yeah, we should definitely check some of those closed closets and everything.
Well, I know that she had some major issues there, so I'm just kind of wondering what she's seen now that we've had all the rains. Do you have any ideas, city manager?
I don't, but we can check tomorrow.
Thank you. That's it?
Oh, no, we got it.
Oh,
Her report is in the packet as well.
Yeah.
Recreation and aquatics report is in there, mostly just numbers. Aquatic Center had a really good summer. We ended with that. Ended the summer event that was a huge success. Lots of kids showed up, lots of backpacks. And supplies went home with kids. Fire department showed up, picked hot dogs and sprayed people with water. The new cover has arrived, and yes, GS General Services Department and Parks are going to put the new cover on to winterize the pool. And that should be happening before the first freeze. Clean it up, make sure they really like ultra shock it, the water, that way it's over the winter, it just stays clean with that. And the cover will prevent debris from getting in there.
So I do have a question. We've never had a cover on there before. And so what kind of anchoring system are you gonna have there? Because we have so many people that jump the fence and get over. Last thing we want is a person underneath floating.
So there is, it's my understanding that there was some kind of cover before, and that there has been in the recent past, because I know that the previous cover was cut as somebody tried to get in. And there are these little pins all the way around the pool that pop up and then they recess, so you like Allen wrench, screw them down and they pop up. And so it's just like a little button almost that's not even half an inch high, and then it anchors to that. This new one came with new anchors, and so GSC is going to install those. But basically, they just go into the concrete, and there's a multitude of them around the pool that keeps that covered.
And my mistake, okay?
Yeah, but like, yeah, it's been there. I don't know if it was original or if it was added later. But yeah, it's there. And then when the pool's open, they just go flush with the deck, so you don't see it.
So you don't see them at all.
Yeah. Yeah, but those new ones need to be put in just because it's a different type of anchoring system. But on that, so I'm just going to jump into my report, which is the next packet. And one of the points on there is the pool fencing. So number 4, I did get a quote, and it was through the state General Services Department did say yes, we can use this company. So it was about $25,000 to extend the fencing above the cinder block wall around the pool. The height is currently 4 feet above that wall, so 6 foot wall, 4 foot fence, 10 foot. But right now it's that wrought iron where you can climb it because there's these cross pieces. And so we're looking at installing pro panel fencing where it's flush with the back of the wall. So not impossible to climb, but a 10-foot straight wall is not as easy to get into without anything to grab onto. So that $25,000 includes that, plus a little bit of spikes on the top, and it's mostly to keep the pigeons off. But I guess it's pretty effective against people going over as well. So it's not like razor wire or anything. It's just more visual deterrent and comfortable if you grab it. So it sounds like. So that is there is funds in the budget to cover that. I'll probably have to pull it from a couple different accounts. But I think that's what we need to do to protect the cover, protect people from getting in there during the off season, and really, it's a liability having a full pool that can be accessed for 9 months out of the year that's not being supervised.
So because we've been under scrutiny and it's come up multiple times, is this something that should go out to RFP? Why are we using the CES system?
We're reviewing the paperwork on that. We had started it with CES, but it's below the threshold of needing to go out to RFP. We may just need to get a couple more quotes. We'll follow up on that, and then we'll go through the regular procurement steps.
Yeah, and
But
Jeff
it's-
Sargent's taking the lead on this, and I believe he may have got at least a couple of quotes. I saw a few different documents on there. So we got this one.
And
So it's been a couple of months.
And we'll note that when it goes to council, it'll have the executive summary that'll note the procurement steps were followed.
So Jeremy, if this comes to fruition, what's the timeline?
If, depending on materials, it sounds like it was probably 3 or 4 weeks from start to finish.
Well, thank you. It's definitely something that's needed to secure the area.
All right, I'm gonna jump back up to number one. So we did make a ICIP request for 500,000 for improvements at the senior center. I worked with that company, I can't remember the name of the company. Everything was submitted in time, and all the documents signed that was needed. So hopefully we do get that for next year, but that won't be go to a House bill in March or whatever, possibly a year from now. Know whether or not we got the 500,000. Some of the main things that need to be done: parking lot improvements, lighting improvements, the stage area, do some upgrades, the weight room. It's about time for new flooring there. Some equipment, of course, the equipment has to be built. Some new flooring. Possibly do something with the old therapy pool that's inside. Possibly something with the outdoor pool. Either bring it up to an operational pool or fill it with concrete or dirt, make it into a garden center, a community garden. There's some options. The biggest challenge right now is, lifeguarding staff. Like if we could staff 3 pools in the summer, I'd be surprised in the next few years. But it's a nice pool. It's a nice location.
Well,
Maybe we could do a splash pad right there. Nice, centrally located.
I'd be up for that, but I wouldn't be up for going it in. And I think the rest of the government and body that sits on this committee feels the same way.
Yeah, splash pad would be awesome.
Yes.
Very shallow pool, just enough the adult can lay in and babies could play in. That's like the perfect.
I agree.
And you have to have as many lifeguards.
Well, I think it's just all in planning as well, right? Starting early, to try and have multiple lifeguarding courses. And maybe work with the college to use it as a feeder program for lifeguards, or as the high school as well. I think we're all struggling with hiring staffing, but there are ways to mitigate it, right? We can connect with the colleges, as I said, with the schools.
Yeah, it does fit pretty well with school schedules, lifeguarding. There's really more.
I think it's wonderful that Ashley offers free lifeguarding courses, because that's not typical of lifeguarding courses. They charge them.
They charge a lot.
So I think that's a great incentive for people that can afford to pay for a lifeguarding course. And maybe those are the things that we need to highlight.
So number 2, on with the ICIP money that we've received in the past few years. So that's those bullet points there are the main ones that are active now. We did just get 2 new ones, the 2 bottom bullet points, the 50,000 for the Lucero Center, 40,000 for the senior center, and then the 2 others for the vehicles. We have drawn down on those. There is some money left and they need to be spent within the next year or so. If we're going to buy an additional vehicle for the senior center. Right now with the budget, I would like to propose a budget adjustment resolution to go to council also on the 26th, basically, so we can say, yes, let's dedicate a line item for these expenditures. And then will be reimbursed from the state once the monies have been spent.
Jeremy, can you use some of the remaining funds to retrofit your van?
Yes. Yeah, that was in the original wording. City cases.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep, lift, additional hand railing on the inside, yes. And then the biggest need at the Lucero Center, we've got the 50,000 for that. HVAC is in dire need in the gymnasium. Like the swamp coolers haven't worked for years, and it was blistering out there this summer. And I'm having Jeff check to see like if they're how many and how big the HVACs would need to be in there. His concern is the weight on top of the roof, and it'd have to reinforce the roof like it did over the pool, but it's in a location, I think, where we could actually put the HVACs on the lower part of the roof over the gym storage. There's more walls, there's less span, and so it should support the weight, and we could just duct it into the side vertical wall of the gymnasium, which should be cheaper as well.
And do you think 50K is gonna cover?
I have a quote, and it's in this packet for one of the HVACs that he was looking at putting over in the weight room, because we do need to replace that one. They can no longer get the parts for that HVAC unit because of its age, and it's 15,000 for the unit and for installation. They have 7 on hand right now, and I hope that 2 of those units would be enough for the gymnasium. Maybe I put it in, maybe I get this. It's that packet. Anyways, I got a quote for 15,000 for one HVAC unit installed on that roof over here.
HVAC unit or this?
HVAC
15?
15. Are there many splits that are big enough for that space?
No, not, the weight room, maybe not for the gym.
Be a lot of mini splits in there, but something has to be done. It's, there's no circulation, you can't run the swamp coolers, without just the fans. It just. Possibly I get a quote on that, but I think that's the biggest need. Secondly would be if we do get the HVACs installed, get rid of the old swamp coolers. The heaters are vented right through the roof. Those old gas heaters could be removed, and then a whole new roofing on that. And it's, without any equipment up there, it should be quicker and cheaper. The entire building leaks, and the library, part of the library section, the mayor's conference room, ongoing leaks, and then in the gym, the offices and the rec area are just leaks.
Should that solve the issue with heating in the bathrooms? Or? what-
Those are on a different unit. Those are those radiant heat in the
I don't
bathrooms?
think so.
I think there's a different unit that has the offices and restrooms are under separate. There's quite a few units on it.
And I just asked that question because it is cold in those bathrooms. It's not consistent.
How's it in the summer?
The summer's fine. It's not hot. It's comfortable, but in the wintertime, it's very cold.
That's in locker rooms.
And I think what happens in those locker rooms as well, and I don't think there's a way to solve that issue, is that when we open up the door to the pool, the bathrooms get all that ventilation from the pool. There's a big gush in the HVAC system and from
Yeah.
the air. But I don't know how to solve that.
Yeah, and then goes into part of the problem with that is that the gymnasium was swamp coolers, which humidified the air, and then everything else is the HVAC that dehumidifies it, so that they're kind of like,
It's a struggle.
yeah, it's struggles.
Yeah.
That would be another benefit of having HVAC.
So the other day that I was there, I saw people working. Is that what number 5 is?
Where were they working? No,
They were
that was
pulling-
probably the camera guys.
Oh, okay.
So we had new
Yeah,
cameras.
we walked
We had
on.
new cameras installed, and I think there was one in the entryway that they hadn't installed when we had them come back and installed up there, so you can see who's walking up to that. Walking.
Oh, cool.
So they're done with that. Next is Plan B, I think, is that the company that did that. Yep. So I'm gonna check off these. So the Vermont Systems, no, just waiting on the final contract. We got a Sally and I were just talking about that today, so we're probably gonna get that going this week. It will take them a month or so to send us the hardware, give us the training on it. So hopefully November 1, we'll roll out the new membership system. And that will give people enough time to be aware that the change is coming. Collect new liability waivers from everyone. And then the other component of this is number 6, is the proposal to adjust the pricing that's happening at the recreation center. And then next on the last 2 pages, it looks like, the packet, there's some red and some yellow. Looks like this. So this is actually the sheet that the cheat sheet that the front desk uses to enter payments into the system. This is just the part that they use for whatever membership is happening. I would like to essentially streamline it so it's less options. You show up, what are you getting there going to do? You can buy a day pass, monthly pass, yearly pass. Discounts for seniors, discounts for youth. And you know, it's right now, if you're there to shower, it's $2. If you're there just to play basketball, it's $1.50. If you're there to use the weight room, well, then you pay more for that. And it's kind of hard to keep track of and to regulate and define. So I just want one price point. I'm here for the day. Here's your 1 day pass. You have access to whatever. Just go swimming, go to the weight room, play some basketball, take a shower, you're done for like one price. There will be incentive to buy more in bulk. So if you pay for a yearly pass membership, you get a discount 10%. 6 months, you can get 5%. But just to make it a little more streamlined. So when a new person walks in and they're trying to figure out the pricing system, it's almost overwhelming. Like, just here's $5 for now, let me in. And to also incentivize buying those monthly memberships, because that's what we want. We want everybody on a monthly membership, month to month, $30 or $20, and I'll probably have another price range for family. So family of 2, family of 4, that there is a discount essentially for group rates. But we want a month to month, and the system, this Vermont system, the RecTrack, will automatically bill them every month. Get their credit card, bill you, and you don't have to worry about coming in. Punch passes are right now discounted, like it's less than a day pass. We don't want that. We want people to buy a day pass or a monthly pass. So it'll be basically the same price. It's the convenience of just getting the one punch every other time you go or whatever. It's great for somebody that's visiting for a week or so, or family that lives in Santa Fe and they're only up here once a week helping out or something like that. So ideally we want monthly memberships, and we want to make it easy for everyone, including our staff. And
So if you had a constituent or a person that bought a monthly pass for 3 months or 6 months, whatever it is that they buy, and I don't know, they had to leave town for an extended amount of time, or they have a medical condition that stop them from being able to utilize it, do you freeze it?
yeah, so the system will allow you just to pause the membership and then restart it at any time. Usually it's per month. So if you pay for September, you're good through the end of September, and then midway through September, like, oh, I'm gonna leave. Okay, we'll stop the payment on October 1st. It'll be on hold, and then as soon as you get back, let us know. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the system's very versatile. Or to change memberships. Oh, I'm married, and
Right.
we now want to get a family membership, so you just change the membership type. You don't have to instigate a whole membership. And then with the price changes, really not much is going to change. Like some people are paying more already. Like college pass is $3.25. Well, that'll go down to $3. The youth, the basketball players, $1.50 now to go play basketball. oh, well, now it's gonna be $3. Well, just get a membership, a monthly membership. You're gonna spend $30 in the course of a month anyways, might as well get the membership. So I don't think we'll see much of a change on the revenue. It'll just be easier to track it. It's not gonna impact people's pocketbook by working on the same balance.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
because we
yeah,
probably
we-
did get off-
Yeah, we would encourage more people to visit, not less, for sure. And so we're, yeah, hoping to get that system contract signed and started and that's training done. Ready to roll first. Right, any other questions about that? Now we'll jump to number 3, parks update from Sally. Since this project started, it was under the Community Services Department. The upgrades to Valdez Park, and Sally has to come here. She's got the latest on that project.
Thank you, Jeremy. Madam Chairwoman, Councilor Salazar, thank you. I wanted to just kind of, because of the tie-in between recreation, now Parks is reported under Public Works, but we thought would be of interest. The city had received some funding through the legislators with the assistance of Representative Susan Herrera. We have about $400,000 to use for improvements to Valdez Park. And we wanted to let you know that we are looking at configuring the skate park. We would maintain all of the existing components, but consolidate them in a smaller area on the same pad. So it would be easier to go from facility to facility because there are a lot of open spaces on the pad. So staff will coordinate moving those. They're not attached. They're just so heavy. They hold their place. We're going to move them to the south half of the pad and use some of the funding to install basketball courts on the north half. And we believe we can get 2 full-size basketball courts. We are going to use some of the funding to replace the play structure nearest to the berm on the west side. That's the oldest play structure in there. We're looking at an all-inclusive play structure for youth from about 5 to 12-year-old age range. And all of this was part of a proposal the city had received a few years back, but hadn't been able to act on, of course, with the pandemic and everything stalling projects. And we had an opportunity to apply for some grant funding through the state quality of life recreation. We hope to know in a few months. We did complete our application. It's a very short time frame. The time frame to apply was very short, and any funding received has to be exhausted. The project has to be built by June 30th of next year. So we thought it tied in great with part of this original design, which would include installing a pump track between the play area and T-ball court on the east side. So we did submit for that grant. We're really excited, have our fingers crossed. And that'll let us continue on with some of the design work, overall upgrades that had been in place for Valdez Park to move forward on those. We're also looking at some improvements for Ranchitos Park in addition to the items Jeremy mentioned. We do have some CDBG funds. We're trying to put that in place so we can look at maybe some, if possible, sprinkler system, new grass. That's one of our priorities. Jeremy had mentioned a splash pad. We don't have the funding for that in this go round, but Ranchitos would lend itself nicely to a splash pad to the west of the pool. So we'll be hoping to bring that proposal to seek grant funds in the future to the governing body. So I just wanted to give you those updates, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
basketball courts, that's resurfacing the.
That's correct. We're gonna, yes, sir. It would be striping, resurfacing, installing a fence between the basketball areas and the skate park. And we also have a set of bleachers in storage that had never been installed that we might be able to set up in that area too. So it's, and then of course the goalposts or the backboards. It's actually a very affordable improvement to make because the existing slab is in good condition.
About that building around Chico, settle, knock it, paint it, redo it.
The old
Concession.
concession stand.
Yeah.
I think that one's a little bit still up in the air. Some of the original funding from the CDBG grant had, because of the time frame, at the time we applied, we hoped to refurbish that building, but since then it has continued to deteriorate. And I believe some of the thoughts at this time are that it might be best to just remove it and maybe rebuild some kind of just a shade structure in the future in that site.
So I get a little discouraged when we talk about going in a pool, or we talk about knocking down a building, and then we're talking about all of these improvements and adding more things which our community needs. But if we're not planning accordingly for maintenance of everything that we're planning on designing and implementing, we're going to be back here in 5 years with the same plan to knock down the building or to come up with a different plan because we don't do maintenance on our facilities. And
Yep.
so you say that the concession stand in Ranchitos has continued to deteriorate. Well, why is that? Why is it continuing to deteriorate? That was a pretty nice concession stand. So I think we really need to focus on maintenance of our facilities so that we're not spinning our wheels and utilizing constituent money over and over and over and over and not really getting anywhere is how I feel like we're spinning our wheels.
Councilor Rodriguez, I agree with you, and it's something we've discussed in our directors' meetings that there was kind of a disconnect at some point in the past that things would get installed without talking to other departments or looking at the maintenance. And we're hoping we've refocused to have that better communication amongst departments, because one department can install something, but then it falls on another department to maintain it. Have we thought about the staffing? Have we thought about the funding? So it is regretful to have reached this point on some of our assets.
I think that when we're creating budgets, that's something that we need to think about to put in our budgets, right? What needs maintenance? And what does that look like and how much money will it take? That's the budgeting process. So anyway, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's how I feel about that. I do have a question about the skate park. I think it's great that you're making the improvements that you've brought forth. Has there been any consideration for shades over the skate park? Because those are metal.
We had a proposal that included shades over it. The estimate came in at about 2.5 million. And when we started, we just had the 400,000. And that did not include replacing the playground equipment. So it's something that we are hoping we could maybe look at doing in stages and try to seek additional funding. Something we want to do is show that we are able to, utilize the funding we receive in a timely fashion. And this, it's nothing, it's not Espanola. It's the recovery from an unusual few years the country had, but like many agencies, some of the funding is from years ago and it's just set. Now that things are moving forward again, it's our opportunity. So these are hopefully just the first pieces in getting back to some of those plans to make everything more appealing and more usable to the public.
Start a couple of other things, the track at the senior center. I had mentioned that in one of our committee meetings when the parks was still under recreation. Or community services rather. That track is a liability and there's a lot of folks that use that as a walking path. And I really think that we need to take some time, look at that and come up with a plan to refurbish the walking path. There's cracks in that walking path up to 4 inches wide. If we have someone that falls while they're walking, that creates a liability.
I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, cut those pieces off, because it is lifting up.
See,
I mean, I never-
well, and maybe in the time being, spraying fluorescent paint so that people can see where the cracks are at, so.
you know, that the streets department is utilizing a contractor to do their patches. You could cut those pieces out, just, I mean, for
Fill
now,
'em in.
patching. So we could do those, just for those pieces.
I think that's a
That,
great idea.
that same contractor will cut those pieces out. Patch it up.
I'll be happy to follow up with the field operations superintendent.
Can you provide us with an update at our next council meeting, please, Ms. Baxter?
I will. And if I may, the one this week's kind of a short schedule, but if it's all right at next week's regular meeting.
And then as far as, and this will be my last thing, we're talking about adding basketball courts on this side of town, and I think it's really needed. But yet again, we have basketball courts and tennis courts in Ranchitos that have not been maintained. Is there any plan to take care of those things?
Counselor, we're looking at what uses we can put the CDBG grant to, because the scope of work estimated back when the city sought that funding has kind of changed and refocused. So I will try to get you an answer for that as well.
And call me naive, but what's a pump track?
I was gonna ask.
It's,
I
I think
had
it's a
to
funny, I
Google
think
it.
it's a funny term as well. I've never heard it called that for this project.
It's like
Basically,
a BMX
Yeah,
track
it's like a
for
BMX.
bicycles. It goes kind of up and down.
So like,
I,
bikes, possibly longboards, that's just kind of this big gradual like up and down curves. Because you pump the bike or something like that. I've never heard it called that either.
Thank you, Ms. Baxter.
Thank you.
I did find the estimate on the HVACs. I forgot the copies of it. It's purchase and install. And that's for the one with weight room. That's the priority right now. It's currently in the budget, so.
And is this through the CES?
Jeff took care of that part of it. I'll check with him. think that is all for my reports this month. There is one other thing that kind of came up today. I'll just brief you guys on. There's the activity membership package. When I was looking at the membership options that we have, are you familiar with this? So it's essentially a third-party offering a membership at our gymnasium or rec center, and it's through insurance. So, and I'm not even sure which insurance is provided, but it's also the way that the Silver Sneakers is done. So it started as Silver Sneakers, great program. If your insurance allows you to sign up for Silver Sneakers, they say, here's these Silver Sneaker programs that you can go to. It's free of charge, doesn't cost you anything. You can go to these locations in your area. When you get into rural areas, there's usually one location that they're offering at, and that's our facility. But it did get people, you know, hey, here's these activities, and they do the Silver Sneaker programs, a few different ones that are offered through that. And then it expanded to anybody that was on that same insurance, and it was it's called Tivity. So basically, people pay their insurance premiums. Their company says, okay, this company Tivity, you tell them where they can go get a membership free of charge. And then the recreation facility is responsible for tracking those members on not our membership method, but this separate Tivity. You know, you just make a check when they come in. At the end of the month, we run a report, we send it to them. This is how many visitors we had on your dollar, essentially. And then they reimburse us with a check, which Ashley doesn't see. Ashley does the reporting, and then assuming the check comes to finance for the monthly reimbursement. So basically, it's less than half of what a daily rate would be. Definitely a lot less than if somebody got a membership. Looks good on paper because they say we're going to send everybody your way. They're going to your gym instead of across the town gym. And so they kind of do the self-promoting. So it's great up until the point where your members are switching to this membership because it doesn't cost them anything and they still have full access. So now we've kind of reached that crux where we're starting to see a decrease in revenue, but we're not seeing a decrease in usage. And I've been in another facility in the past that we did that. And I was just like, you got to stop this right away. And they didn't. We've just got on this contract. We can't get out. There's, you know, look at all this potential revenue. And then about 4 years later, they're just like, oh, why are we? It's like, this is the reason. And they finally dug down like, oh yeah, we're not getting that revenue. Like, you know, you look at your per usage per person, what does it cost them to walk through our doors? And we're not getting reimbursed that amount from Tivity, and so we are losing money. And so my recommendation would be that we end this contract. I just started digging around today. Like, the contract was signed in September of 20, so it's come about 3 years. But as I read the contract, there was no way for us to get out of it. So I have to dig a little bit deeper. But like, they have, you know, 7 different ways that they can get out of the contract, but there wasn't an out for us, and there was no time limit as far as I can tell in the contract. So there's probably something I'm missing. I was, you know, looking through it hastily this afternoon because I want to answer as quick, but I just got transferred over to the administrator for that because it was somebody else's name. So.
I'm glad you're looking at that, because I would be in agreement with you, that it's a way to lose revenue because we're getting paid half the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only that, it's kind of hard for you to track whether or not we are being reimbursed for those funds.
Yeah, I don't know where it goes. They send a
Or-
check
or
or they
if we
direct
even
deposit.
receive payment.
And we need to follow up on that as well. And it may come from a different name or a different company name. You know, Tivity may be the program, and the company that's sending us the check could be somewhere else. I'm sure we're getting the money, but don't know.
You just never know.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you for. the-
Yes, we'll find out on that, and I'll see if there's any way for us to get out if we take action by council to end the contract. So, hopefully have an update next month on that. And really, I mean, we're offering $2 day rate for seniors. That's a good rate.
It is excellent, right? To utilize the entire facility.
All right. It is all I have.
Well, thank you. Keep up the good work. Looks like you're making a lot of progress on things that have been stagnant. So I appreciate that. And, I just have to say that you have a really dedicated staff. Sherry, Ashley, Senior Center. So you're fortunate that you have dedicated staff to run the operations of the community services department.
There's also a lot of support staff with finance. Sally, that's GSD and parks, they do a
Of
lot of,
course,
they
yeah.
do a lot of help as well, so I couldn't do it.
It's really a team effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you to
Emma for being here before my admin assistant is hired.
well, and Emma's always here to support community services, so thank you, Emma.
I'm his unofficial admin.
Yeah.
We do say that.
Well, thank you for